The hanging criminals served as a warning for prospective sea rovers that crime did not pay. The real message, however, was that crime did pay, and it rewarded those who could pay others to do their bidding. The feudal system that gave birth to the Knights Templar gave rise to noble ideals such as liberty, equality, and fraternity. Among those in power, however, corruption ruled. Freemasonry developed from the noble ideals of the Knights Templar, and the lodge system was created underground to protect its members. Some lodges became more celebrated than others, and membership in the more prestigious lodges offered greater rewards. While Livingston would survive into days of public Freemasonry, Bellomont would not. Almost 20 years passed after Kidd's body hung over the Thames before Freemasonry went public. From London to Boston, New York, and Philadelphia, the lodge system separated those who pulled the strings from those who were left hanging. Through the right connections, family dynasties could survive and build on fortunes made from nefarious crimes. Profits from piracy became investments in more acceptable enterprises, and fortunes made in 17th century crime were the bedrock for wealth in the 21st century. 68 skeletons in the closet. 69 The Gardner dynasty. Among those who benefited from the criminal activities of the expendable was the Gardner family. It is hard not to suspect the Gardners of running a sort of pirate bank on their tiny kingdom. They owned Gardiner's Island itself and larger tracts of land stretching from East Hampton to Smithtown on Long Island. The progenitor of the family was an Englishman, Lyon Gardiner, who was born in 1599. He came to America in 1635 as a soldier, a builder of fortifications, a trader, and a fighter against the Indians. Gardiner's son David was the first white child born in what would become the state of Connecticut. In what is now known as the Pequot War, Gardner was instrumental in enlisting opposing tribes to join a small English force that sought to exterminate the Pequots. Gardiner's principal ally was Wyandanch, a sachem from Long Island. Gardner agreed to trade with Wyandanch's group if he would kill all the Pequots that came to him and send their heads. One from his new friends, the Montaukett tribe. Gardner bought the self-named Gardiner's Island, a 3,500-acre island kingdom, part of modern East Hampton, for cloth, a gun, some gunpowder, and a dog. He added to his Long Island holdings by rescuing Wyandanch's daughter from an enemy tribe. For this feat he was given the land that would become Smithtown, bringing his holdings to 100,000 acres. Rights to Gardner's kingdom were confirmed by King Charles I. In the 17th century and later, Gardner's eastern holdings provided a great haven for pirates and smugglers, and evidence appears to indicate that the early Gardner heirs were more than simply willing accomplices. In 1672 a report indicated that a Massachusetts pirate named Joseph Bradish set sail for Gardiner's Island with his loot. In 1692 the governor of Connecticut reported that pirates were anchored off East Hampton and engaging in trade. In another report, a prominent Connecticut citizen was accused of receiving stolen property and selling it in Boston, and it was noted that the shore of distant Long Island was the haunt of 70 piracy, a merry and a short-life pirates and smugglers. Still another report stated that a pirate ship called the Sparrow had taken on 18 passengers under an agreement made in the Caribbean. The master, Richard Naramore, then carried the passengers to Gardiner's Island, where they disembarked, chests and all. As the story spread, the unnamed men, who were suspected to be pirates, were brought before a magistrate. Christopher Goff was one of the few accused men who appeared. He confessed that, as suspected, he was a pirate, but he was able to obtain a pardon. Point 2 The Gardner family has maintained its wealth throughout the centuries by the right connections to England prior to the War of Independence, and by more secret connections that lasted to the middle of the 19th century. While many Whig families were able to avoid losing their lands after the American Revolution, the Gardiners, like their neighbors and often partners who had been Tories, walked a thin line, and were not subject to the post-war land grab. Many of these families showed their reluctance to break from Mother England, and some of their actions bordered on treason. The War of 1812 became a second war of independence, as Britain had never ceased treating America as a colony. Her navy regularly impressed American seamen. Her army armed and incited native border tribes against her lost colony. Many families had prospered through their relationships with British firms, and such pro-British Whig families found themselves at odds with President Jefferson. A handful of New England merchant families, who had survived the Revolution and even prospered, proposed that New England leave the Union. Their loyalty was not to their country, but to their mercantile interests, which were often shared with British counterparts. In the decades before the Civil War, America was again threatened with secession, this time from several southern states. One great secret of American history is that the same New England merchant families who had tried to leave the Union earlier were joined by New York merchant families in aiding the breakup of the Union. Despite this treasonous activity, few of the powerful families were held accountable. The Gardner family was one such family that straddled the two sides of the Civil War. Skeletons in the Closet 71. The Gardner family, while always flying under the radar of public comment, was a power base in New York and part of the Cotton Whigs. The Whig Party was divided on many issues, and the so-called Cotton Whigs allied themselves with the powerful families of Virginia and the Carolinas, who by the nature of their business, cotton, remained close to English banks and merchants. When Gardner interests merged with the interests of the planting families of Virginia and South Carolina, the Gardner family itself merged with the Tyler family of Virginia. While American politics has evolved over the centuries, in the 19th century it was not unusual for a president to be at odds with his vice president. As the result of compromise within the Whig Party, William Henry Harrison and John Tyler ended up on the same ticket. Harrison was regarded as a politician in the mold of loyal Virginia leaders such as Washington, Jefferson, and Madison, and so was against the divisive politics of South Carolina, which was first to threaten leaving the Union. Tyler was part of the secessionist movement in Virginia, that was based at the College of William and Mary. Although he was a member of the Whig Party, he had no inclination to support Whig policy.